For those of you who don't know me, I actually came to Germany for love. I met my German husband in South Africa. Turns out we hit it off. So I guess I didn't really choose Germany. Germany chose me. Hello, you guys. My name is Jenna. I am a Canadian who has been living here in Germany since 2014. I'm a mom of 2 little German kids, and I create content to inspire others to move to Germany. And I thought, what better way to introduce you to my life here in Germany than by showing you around my home. So welcome to our new family home. We didn't always have this home. When I first got here, we rented a flat. I actually initially in Freiburg lived in his WG, or his Studentenwohnung, which is a shared apartment with other people who are currently studying in the same university or just living around the area. That was a great experience. And then when it was time to move to Dusseldorf, we struggled. If you've rented an apartment here in Germany, you're going to know that finding a flat in Germany is probably one of the more difficult things you're going to do when you get started here, and maybe even 5-10 years down the road when you decide to rent a new apartment. So thankfully I had a German husband who was able to help me through the process. The process itself is not hard. Yes, speaking German is definitely going to help you a ton in this regard, but if I'm being honest, we actually looked for months and months and months. We lived with my mother-in-law for 8 months. We ended up finally finding an apartment in the newspaper. It was like this tiny little clipping with no photos, just a tiny little description that said Dusseldorf, Unterbig, 2 balconies, 76 square meters, quiet street. And we were like, who looks in the newspaper for apartments nowadays? I don't know. We went and it was amazing. It turned out that it was an older woman who just wanted to keep the rent low to have nice people in her apartment. At the end of the day, she wasn't so nice. She's like very typical, I'm gonna watch your every move and see everything you're doing because I need to know what the whole neighborhood is doing, including the people I rent this house to. Yeah. Anyway, we got very, very lucky. But as I said, finding an apartment can be one of the trickiest tasks to getting started here in Germany. I am going to give you a tip, and if you take any tips from me, please let this be the most important tip for you. Yes, finding an apartment in Germany is hard. No, it is not impossible. There are tricks to get around and work the system. If you have not moved to Germany yet, it is very hard to find an apartment because it's hard for Germans to find apartments, which means if you're not living here in Germany, chances are they're going to choose the German person who came to look at the apartment, who came with their Schufa score, which is like their credit rating in Germany, with proof of financial income. They have a big leg up on you in this apartment searching journey. You're going to need to take a first step in the right direction. Use websites that offer temporary apartments. Don't look at a hotel, don't look at an Airbnb, because they actually can't sign this form that you're going to have to fill out within 2 weeks of moving to Germany to register in your city or your town. So, temporary housing, use a website like Wunderflats. The landlords speak English. They will sign that registration form that you need to register in the city, and the apartments are fully furnished. So, obviously the prices are going to be higher, of course. You're getting this premium service, and many of these apartments are in really, really nice areas. So that will give you a really nice head start into exploring the city and what it's all about. Now, yes, furnished apartments are more expensive, but they are temporary, which means you can move here. Most people stay between like 1 or 6 to 12 months in a temporary furnished apartment. And then when you get here, you have the time to do the research properly and not rush and freak out and take the first apartment you find. You can go to different appointments. You can stay as long as you need in your temporary furnished flat and take your time. This is key, and time is what you need in order to find your dream flat. Take it from me, I lived with my mother-in-law for 8 months. So I started my journey back in Freiburg, Germany, and absolutely loved it. My husband was studying in university there, so for me, making the move from Canada to Germany was actually really easy. My first year was a great one, and it really was that picturesque, like cobblestone streets and beautiful German castles and Biersteins and all of the amazing stereotypical German things you think of when you come and travel to Germany. That was the experience that I had in my first year. But fast forward 8 short months later, and things took a bit of a change, I'm not gonna lie. We decided to relocate to Dusseldorf, Germany, to be closer to my husband's family. His father was unfortunately quite sick back then and passed away, and life threw me a bit of a curveball. If you've ever been to Dusseldorf, you'll know that Dusseldorf is this thriving, amazing place for fashion and art. And any of you know me, you'll probably realize that that's not really me. I'm more into the outdoors and nature and flea markets and upcycling furniture. And I was like, okay, I understand why people might love Dusseldorf, but I don't. But little did I know that by pushing myself to get out there and find alternatives to these classic art and shopping events that go on in the city of Dusseldorf, and by searching for other alternatives like amazing flea markets and cool places to hike, I actually ended up creating a career for myself that I had never intended on building. Because I struggled in my first year here in Dusseldorf getting started, that inspired me to help make a positive difference for other immigrants who are moving to Germany as well, not only by sharing my stories, but building up this entire incredible course that goes through step by step how moving to Germany doesn't have to be hard if you learn what you need to do ahead of time. So while yes, Germany is truly as beautiful as the tourists and travelers make it out to be, it is this magical country. Relocation to Germany is definitely going to throw you a hard ball. I'm a very patient, very well organized person, and even I didn't figure it out. So that led me to spend the last almost 10 years of my life figuring it out for you. So how much does it cost to rent a flat in Germany? Well, of course, depending on whether you want to live in a town or city, the price is going to differ significantly. When we first moved to Dusseldorf and rented our very first apartment back in 2015, we actually paid about 675 euros cold. In German, they say Kaltmiete, which is your rent and the money that the landlord is going to get, not including your utility fees or any additional maintenance that you're going to be paying on top of that. So we had a 76 square meter flat, which works out to be about 9 euros per square meter in a relatively trendy area here in Dusseldorf known as Unterberg. Nowadays, you're looking more at 12 to 13 euros per square meter, which is about 1,000 euros cold for a flat that size. Yes, rent prices have gone up, but hasn't it gone up everywhere? And then another good tip to know that I didn't know was that opposite of Kaltmiete or cold rent, you have your warm rent, which is Warmmiete in German. And this again is your base cost of rent plus all of your Nebenkosten or additional expenses like your water usage or your garbage disposal or your chimney sweeper, for example. So back in 2017, we actually decided to buy our first rental property here in Germany. It wasn't a nice house, but it was worth it for the money. We knew that we'd need to renovate it. We've spent the last 7 years renovating it, and we never actually intended on moving into it ourselves. However, the pandemic came, prices skyrocketed, our dreams kind of flew out the window, which is okay because we actually built this entirely new dream for ourselves, and I can't even imagine living anywhere else at the moment. So just to give you a better picture, our house is 4 levels. We've got an attic apartment, about 40 square meters, and then we have 2 levels of apartments below, each one about 74 square meters, and then we have a cafe below that we rent out. So for us, we live on about 150 square meters of this space. We have a beautiful Innenhof, and then in the back we have a 3-car garage. Behind that we have a beautiful little garden that's about, I guess, 120 square meters. Like I said, we lucked out. This house is from 1961, renovierungsbedürftig, which means we definitely had to renovate it when we purchased it. The lady who we bought it off of actually had passed away a couple years before. Her kids were nowhere near Dusseldorf, didn't want to have anything to do with it, didn't like each other, just wanted to sell it. So we got it for 310,000 euros, which nowadays is like, is this true? Really? We got a really good deal. So for us, that worked out to be about 2,000 euros per square meter. But nowadays, especially in Dusseldorf, you're looking at spending anywhere between 5,000 to 6,000 euros per square meter if you want to purchase an apartment or a house here in the city. Similarly, that's also all over Germany. You're going to get cheaper prices if you're looking at smaller towns. And if you're thinking of buying a property yourself and you want more tips from me, I have a lot of tips up my sleeve, mostly because this is my husband's obsession. I would say hobby, but it's more of an obsession. He absolutely loves real estate in Germany and comparing prices and figuring out what's the best deal. I've shared quite a few videos on my YouTube. I will link some up above if you want some more tips. I really think investing in Germany is a good idea. One other thing I should note is that when I say 5,000 to 6,000 euros per square meter, I am talking about most cities. A city I'm not talking about is München or Munich. That goes upwards to about 10,000 1,000 euros. So prices definitely do differ in the cities. You got to do a little bit of research. So what was my life like before I moved to Germany? Well, I actually had no anticipation of ever learning the German language or ever moving to Germany. When I met my husband back in South Africa, we were long distance for 2 years. I was a recruitment manager and marketing coordinator. I loved it. I was stressed, I was burnt out, and I was working really, really hard. But the concept of this experiential marketing that I was working within, I really enjoyed. So I didn't think we were going to make any changes. We were planning on moving my husband over to Canada. But as life would have it, we realized that his qualifications just did not transfer well over into Canada. He is a dentist, and then he'd have to go back to school all over again to make it work. I realized I had no excuse because I studied marketing and business and sports management. And while I wasn't necessarily super excited about the idea at the beginning, I was so madly in love that I think I was willing to do just about anything. Little did I know that this would change my entire life for the better. Like I said, I was so burnt out. I was so exhausted back in Canada. In the major cities in Canada, we have this like hustle bustle mentality. You know, you work not only 9 to 5, but you work overtime in hopes to gain that promotion. You take over the jobs of other people. You work together as a team, which is great. We work together really well in Canada, but it also means that even if you're done your tasks, sometimes you might have to stay late to finish other people's tasks too. And that for me was really tough mentally, but I had my plan. I worked out my whole life. I was going to live in Toronto in a skyscraper with floor length windows and a cute little puppy dog. Now look at me. I'm living in Germany, and I've been able to make a huge difference in people's lives, helping them relocate to Germany when maybe they never would have in the first place. I have a pretty cool life now, and I'm very proud of what I've accomplished. And none of this would have happened if I didn't live in Germany. I'm not gonna lie, making Germany feel like home definitely doesn't come easy, but I'm going to tell you it is extremely worth it. The language at first is hard to grasp, especially since depending on where you're moving, if you're moving to a city like, for example, Berlin, people speak English. A lot of people speak English, but just because a lot of people speak English doesn't mean that it's the option that you should take. Actually, integrating yourself into Germany takes a lot of time culturally, but also due to the language. So another massive tip for you is start to learn the language before you come. I did not, and I struggled for a very, very long time. I learned most of my German through my husband's family because they did not speak English at the dinner table when we were together. And although it was very tough for me emotionally and mentally, I'm very thankful that I learned the language that way because it was super intense. But to make it easier for other people, I would definitely recommend just taking classes before you arrive. It will be very, very beneficial for you. There are intensive programs that you can book on, for example, Lingoda, or if you have the motivation and you can take the courses on your own without finding excuses not to do it, then you've also got ones like Smarter German or Rocket Languages, or even just doing it on an app like Babbel. These are all good solutions. It's better than nothing. And I promise you, it's going to change the way that the first few years of your integration are here in Germany. But once you get through the bureaucratic jungle, hopefully with the help of my Life in Germany Welcome program, life in Germany is amazing. I love it. I absolutely love life in Germany, much better than my life was in Canada. I am so thankful to be surrounded every day with so much history and so much culture and so much opportunity here. I honestly feel like every day here in Germany teaches me something new. Don't forget, I've been here for 10 years and I'm saying that. I have so many culture shocks and so many cultural experiences when I had kids, when I'm registering them for school, when I was learning the language, when I was learning how to renovate a house or make a deal with a real estate agent. And some of these experiences turn into the funniest stories to tell that I'm always sharing over here on YouTube. And another big reason why I love living here in Germany is because I am a mom of 2 kids. I feel very, very well supported by the government here. They have a lot of perks for being a parent, for having children. They support you through the whole pre-pregnancy, through the birthing process, post-pregnancy, all throughout the child's education. And Elterngeld and Kindergeld here are not bad at all. Plus, we get a lot of time off during our parental leave, or Elternzeit, as they call it here in Germany. It's also worth noting that kids get sick a lot, and I'm home with sick kids a lot. And I have to say, although I'm self-employed, from the experiences and stories that I hear from my friends, German employers are very, very understanding and very flexible compared to employers in Canada. What are the costs of living? Well, that really depends on where you are going to be living. So let me give you an example here in Dusseldorf. There are, of course, a lot of small costs that can add up. But a few to keep in mind might be, for example, here in Dusseldorf, we pay about 25 to 30 euros for a Anwohnerparkausweis, which is a permit that allows you to park on the road close to your home within a certain proximity of your home. Parking here can be a challenge, so if you get a parking space, then you've hit gold. Then you've got other costs like insurances, which, as in many videos I've talked about, Germans are insurance crazy. And before I tell you about some of the insurances most of us have here in Germany, it's important to note that Germans are insurance crazy, which also means they pay for a lot of different insurances and they use them. Because so many people pay into the insurance system here in Germany, insurances are actually very, very affordable. Of course, in addition to your health insurance costs, which are going to depend on if you're employed or self-employed. If you're employed, your employer will pay half of your health insurance costs. If you're self-employed, you will pay them entirely on your own, and the price of your insurance is going to depend on how much you make. There's public and private, so that does differ a bit, but generally speaking, it depends on how much you're earning here in Germany. So in addition to your health insurance and maybe your car insurance, for example, which is also mandatory, or your pet liability insurance, which can also be mandatory, you have things like Privathaftpflichtversicherung or liability insurance, which is super cheap. And over, I think, almost 85% of Germans have this insurance, which typically costs about 5 euros. I actually pay $5.91 per month for my family of 4 with GetSafe, which is an English insurance app that I have on my phone. As mentioned, your car insurance, that might cost you anywhere between 80 to 100 euros a month. We pay 71 euros with Hook Coburg. They are a very good and affordable insurance provider. You've got your home contents insurance, otherwise known in German as Hausratsversicherung. You pay anywhere between like 3 and 10 euros a month. We pay actually a little bit above 10 euros a month because of the amount of space that we're owning. So the bigger your apartment is going to be, the more you're going to pay in home contents. And then you've also got Rechtsschutzversicherung, which is your legal insurance. A lot of people actually have legal insurance here as well, because we run into a lot of legal issues because Germans are so insurance happy and like to make claims and hire lawyers and the works when something tiny happens. And many of these issues may actually be with your landlord. So don't be surprised if your first legal dispute is with your landlord. Other upfront costs, of course, with your rent. You've got maybe first and last month's rent as a down payment. It could also be 3 months of rent as a down payment, but that is going to be your Kaltmiete, your cold rent. Of course, any visa fees, any banking fees. If you're not going with a free option like N26 or Wise, you might have monthly banking fees, and maybe any furniture that you want to have when getting started here in Germany. Furniture shopping, one of my favorite things to do, because I actually don't shop for new furniture. I love, as I mentioned, flea markets, secondhand, and Sperrmüll. If you've seen on one of my Instagram stories, taking from the Sperrmüll or Big Garbage Day is actually illegal. However, many people here in Germany do it, and you can get some amazing finds in a garbage. When I first came here, I came with nothing but a suitcase and a massive bag on my shoulder. As I mentioned, we were living in a WG or Wohngemeinschaft, a shared apartment, which meant that my husband's furniture that we started off with was really not the nice. But no judgment. As I said, my entire house now is pretty much furnished with Sperrmüll, with big garbage and things that I found from the flea market. Why don't we take a tour? You want to take a tour? Let's take a tour. So this is my kitchen. It's actually much bigger and more open concept than most German apartments. Germans often like having their kitchen in a separate space to keep the mess and like all the cooking smells separate. Compared to many Canadian kitchens, it actually isn't that big. The island is not a very German thing, I have to say, but it's something that I can't live without. I absolutely love my kitchen. Our lamp I got from Kleinanzeigen for 5 euros. The wooden shelves that I used here were actually found in the garage when I purchased the house. And then if you look over in the living room, the wooden plate there under the TV is also from the previous owner. The sofas, I cleaned up a little bit, not entirely, but these are 30-year-old sofas I also bought from Kleinanzeigen. This stand we got out of the garbage. That box we got for $4 at the flea market. This I got out of the garbage day and upcycled it myself. It's one of my prized possessions. Even that I got for €1 at the flea market. Kinderküche we got for free. Table I renovated and upcycled myself for about €10 off of Facebook Marketplace, and took some chairs from my mother-in-law's garage that she wasn't using. We've also got this beautiful workbench that we took from my husband's papa. All of our old signs, we collect those those every time we go to the flea market. These are from IKEA. They are design pieces. Nowadays, they are sold for at least 1,500 to 2,000 euros a piece. They're not really my style, but we paid someone a few hundred euros to refurbish them, fix them up, because we found them in the garbage. This was my idea for an entrance way. We got the beautiful box that's full of all our winter stuff for 5 euros from the flea market. This we got for, I think, 70 euros. And I just upcycled the knobs here, as you can see. So we do have two different duvet covers. My husband has a normal European size pillow, I believe 80 by 80. I have a smaller one, and we do have the bed. If you can notice down at the bottom, it's got two different mattresses, but we actually popped a mattress topper on top here so that nobody falls in the crack when they're sleeping with us. This is actually totally a North American thing and not at all common for an apartment in Germany. We renovated it from the ground up, and I had a lot to say about the walk-in closet and the kitchen. Well, I have to be honest, my entire business, my entire life right now is based around life in Germany, living here in Germany as an immigrant. I can't really imagine my life elsewhere, but never say never, right? I've always dreamt of buying a really old, dingy hotel or bunker or military base or something unique that has like bones that I can flip and renovate somewhere in like the middle of a forest in Germany and build either like a Kinder hotel or like some sort of green oasis paradise for travelers. So while I might be staying in Germany, I might not always stay in Dusseldorf. But all in all, I'm not stressed here in Germany. I love it here in Germany. My life is better here in Germany. I personally feel more cultured, and I'm so proud of my son. For example, when he comes home from Kita, speaking like 3 or 4 different languages. He's bilingual, but there are many other people in his class who are speaking other languages like Spanish or Russian or Italian or Greek, and they all learn from each other. Like some of them go home speaking words of English, and I'm just so proud and so excited that my children are going to have this opportunity to be exposed to so much incredible culture from so many incredible people. Vielen, vielen lieben Dank und wie immer, bis später.